It's the year 2000. The N64 was making a killing with all of its iconic brands driving the console into the modern age. Banjo-Tooie, Mario Tennis, Majora's Mask, Perfect Dark, Spider-Man. With these titles at the forefront, it was safe to see what the climate of gaming was going to be for Nintendo moving into the future. So, a small company by the name of HAL Laboratories were given the task to innovate and improve another great title that Nintendo had wanted to add to its lineup. The title of that year was Kirby64, the Crystal Shards. My buddy Hal, the old pal, had one trait that every artist has, but every company hates: a perfectionism problem. See, when working on this game, it seems that the director at that time was more concerned about getting every detail perfect, so it made time constraints even more difficult on the developers. This doesn't always translate into a well thought out result game-wise, and can make good-seeming games turn out to be beautiful-looking shit piles with quests to dig in. But with Kirby64, they wanted to experiment with Kirby, and for what seemed like the last time, with bringing him into a 3D space. The controls are what you would come to expect of Nintendo's first-party games, very responsive and non-restrictive. The game's graphics still great to look at, easier on the eyes than even some others that year. The polygons weren't jutting out everywhere, ready to jab someone's eye out, and environments were wonderful to gaze at and walk through. You can tell a lot of polish and energy went into making this game look good for the year 2000. Add attention to detail can also be found in just about every corner of this game too. Every stage was a different themed planet with the purpose of catching your attention somehow. This also allowed them to play with the levels in different ways, sometimes allowing you to go behind structures, free-falling sections, with secrets ready to zoom past you, tricking your eyes as you play to make you stop and take in what was around you while you were playing, subtly letting you absorb all of these visuals they have to offer. The twist with this Kirby? Well, it was actually meant to be a full 3D game, and it was actually designed for the 64DD, the disc drive, or so it was called, but that commercial flop that no one ever heard about. The developers could only put in about 6 thought-out Star Worlds to make it a 2.5D perspective. They weren't even given enough time to do the cutscene voices too, apparently. I know cutscenes were already rough to get through in that era, but it seemed even more off-putting than it was just blasting music and not even a... Hi! So, with only 6 levels, you might think that was cause they were rushing and got lazy planning their game. Not in the fucking slightest. Secrets are hidden all around, and they taunt and tease you while you stand helplessly, because you know that what is required means you gotta go from start to end on some bullshit power-up just to hit that hundo P. Speaking of power-ups, while this game may be on the shorter side and have some angling issues sometimes, it adds so many fun abilities for you to absorb and combine. The combination skill is something that should, in my opinion, have been a constant staple for Kirby's ability moving forward. I'm a light bulb, now I'm a dildo, now I'm fucking fireworks, now I'm a fridge, nom nom nom. This game's mechanics are always poking at your curiosity and urges to experiment further, and your efforts will be rewarded a lot for doing so. Getting every secret will require you to memorize certain combinations or counters to certain terrain that will unlock shards for you to collect and 100% beat the game. The music and sound for Kirby64 is delightful and cheery most of the time. It does come to a certain point in the levels when shit just starts to get real. HAL Labs really thought how to make the pink puffball feel in an intense environment and in more sense of danger than average. Then he turns into a drill and plows through a bunch of that world's citizens anyways, so it all worked out. The Kirby Classic soundtracks are all present here as well, with the same recurring songs that they recycle from other titles. Again, though, there is no voice dialogue or even sound effects really for the cutscenes. The story is by far the least brought up part to this game, and that's for good reasons. With the feeling of unfinished cutscenes that only play from opening and the closing of a world, it serves as more like a PowerPoint presentation, playing in front of you instead of bringing you through this epic-ass space journey to save the galaxy. You start on World 1 by picking up all of your friends, although you face them as an enemy, which is very confusing because you're not sure that you're supposed to be saving them until it's time. From there, you're just traveling to each world with all of your friends, and you only get the cutscenes in the opening and the end of the world, like had been previously mentioned. There are mini bosses in this game, but those are all just carbon copies of actual enemies. The real bosses are at the end of the levels, and those are all unique to each level themselves. The ending is you fighting off dark matter and saving the fairy queen, and everyone lived happily ever after. But if you're a true casual gamer, then the true ending happens after you hit 100%, completing the game, and after you beat dark matter, he actually gets sucked out of the queen for some reason and is brought into his true form, where you fight him and face off with him and fight him for the galaxy. Just a little disclaimer at the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. I do have to recommend, don't fucking buy this unless you already paid for the Nintendo Online and their stupid expansion pack. Okay? Just don't. It's fucking stupid and I'm dumb. Goodbye. Bye-bye.